What's up out there? As I sit with a giant smug grin on my face, we had the Path of Exile 2 0.2.0 live stream release earlier, and my predictions for yesterday were largely spot on. They did not make any changes to the game in any way, shape, or form to what the game is currently. They probably nerfed a whole bunch of stuff. We don't have the patch notes yet, but it sounds like they nerfed a whole bunch of things. So right off the bat, up here where I said that they would not budge off of Ruthless and the crappy movement speed, we still don't have movement skills, and they also, I should have put a bingo card together in hindsight, but they mentioned checkpoints on maps as it's a great thing. They also, in the Q&A, mentioned that they got asked about the gargantuan maps that they have in the campaign. And in fact, they explicitly said they have no intention of reducing the map size. They're going to add content to it. Now, whether that actually improves anything or just bloats the campaign to where it's not fun to ever play again, I don't know. Who knows? But number one, this little prediction here, pretty much all of it spot on. We also did not get anything with another act. As I thought here, we're not going to get another act for a while. And if you notice, the end game section down here has a lot of numbers to it. That's because that was basically the entire focus of the video or of the live stream was a lot of in-game stuff. I mean, they spent some time on the new class and stuff like that, but a lot of it was end-game content. We did get one new class. We didn't get another one, but we did get some new ascendancies for the existing classes we have. And they did mention something about some of the, like maybe energy shield and I can't remember. There was a couple of skills. Sounds like there's going to be some things that catch a pretty good nerf. So expect some nerfs whenever we do get the patch notes. It didn't sound like we were going to get much of anything in buffs. They said they tweaked all of the different ascendancies, maybe added some nodes here and there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Didn't sound like they didn't speak to mace skills at all. And the only thing they said about armor was that they needed to act like it didn't exist and then maybe start from the ground up and try to rethink it or something like that. So if you ever want to play armor, just give it like a year or maybe 2 or 5 or 10 or however long it took to get armor kind of fixed the way it, or I shouldn't say armor, to melee was the big holdout in PoE 1 and they finally reworked it. It took forever. The armor's probably going to follow suit. So just give up on playing, give up on using armor. It's probably always going to suck. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm definitely playing this new, it's not a league, it's a patch or whatever we're going to get. Whenever we get this thing, I will be playing it, but I have no idea what class I want to play because I don't really think any of them are all that good. And the ones that look interesting to me are some of the worst performing ones, like the one from Cheula or whatever. Like some of that stuff sounds really cool, and those are the just god-awful dog shit versions that are in the current game. So I don't expect them to be much better. So what did we get in this reveal? We got the reveal for the Huntress class, which is a hybrid ranged and melee thing. It looked cool. It looked like they were having a good time playing it. There's a Ritualist Ascendancy, which actually sounds pretty cool. This probably would be the Ascendancy to play if you're coming back. This might be the best one to play because it does look like it had a lot of balance and a lot of effort and time put into it, rather than just kind of throwing some stuff on the other ones and hopefully they're better. This one actually looked like they spent some time on it and, you know, they had thought some things through. The Ritualist Ascendancy version of this, you get to equip a third ring. There was a node in there where you could have a third ring socket, which looks cool. I thought that was pretty neat. And then there was something about ritualistic sacrifice where you could sacrifice animals and take some of their power, or something about sacrificing your own power or your own blood to get some other powers or something like that. It looked really cool. There was also the Amazon Ascendancy, which had a node that I thought this was kind of cool. I thought this was a really cool mechanic to add in. It shows you like little weakness bars on the monsters. And I don't know if I didn't really pay attention to what they were saying about it. Like if you hit it at a certain, like in Gears of War, when you do a reload, there was that one sweet spot. If you hit it on that right spot, you got like a bonus to the damage. I don't know if that's how it was. I was kind of half paying attention through that, but the idea itself looked really cool to see a weakness bar on there on the big monsters and stuff like that. And then you could take advantage of it. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I don't know that I want to play Ascendancy or play the Amazon or not. The Huntress also had some kind of parry feature, which they said you could kind of just hold the button through it, but there was like a sweet spot or something like that. It sounded like parry was easy. I really suck at parrying, and that's a lot of the reason why I don't really play some of these modern Souls games, because they go like hard into parry, and I'm just not a fan of it. But from the discussion they had, it sounded like the parry mechanic was actually not bad and pretty forgiving. So for people that suck like me, it wouldn't actually be bad. So the Huntress would probably be a really good class to come back to. Now, there are some new ascendancies. The Warrior gets this Smith of Kantava, which it could temper a weapon on the fly or something like that. I don't know. It looked kind of like gimmicky. And there was an ascendancy. It looks like a giant axe or something at the bottom, or the blade of an axe. And you take this one node for free, and then it's like build a body armor. So you could get like, I don't know, plus 75% resistance for fire or something like that. And they had some for like increased life and stuff like that. So you'd equip a normal piece of body armor. Can't be magical or rare or anything like that. It just had to be a normal. And then you could start picking things on there. It sounded like you could probably take all your points into that there as opposed to the rest of it. Whatever other nodes there were on that ascendancy, I'm not sure. It sounds cool, but it also sounds kind of gimmicky at the same time. So I don't know. We'll see about that. There's Mercenary gets this Tactician. The best thing that I saw about it, it looked like it was more for group play where you could have multiple banners and stuff like that. And there was this pin mechanic, which actually is in PoE 1. I've noticed it with my Cyclone builds that I've been playing. I've been getting pinned. I didn't even know that was a thing or existed in PoE 1. I thought it was a PoE 2 thing. But you're going to get this pin mechanic where you can actually lock something in place or whatever. That's on the Mercenaries Tactician that's coming in. It didn't look exciting at all. The Smith of Katava, it looked kind of cool to maybe try, but again, it looked a little bit gimmicky. The Witch, this looked like a big, I think it was more minion-based stuff. And it was something about she could sacrifice her life and get more ES or something like that. But there was a big cost if you ran out of ES or something. I didn't really pay much attention to it. Once they started talking about minions, I was kind of out. But there was some curse and chaos and stuff like that nodes onto it. So that looked kind of cool. They did add a few new skills. I can't remember if they told us how many skills there were exactly. I believe they said there was like 20 Huntress skills, and then there's some other skills, like they talked about Raised Spectre, where you could go chase down all the monsters out there. And then I don't know how Raised Spectre works or how you get Spectres in PoE 1. I'm still a little muddy on how that works, but I know they're a thing in PoE 1. Again, it's minion stuff I don't really care about. You can also summon a Roa as a minion that will fight alongside you, or you can hop up on it and ride it around. That sounds cool. It sounds... Hopefully it moves faster than you do and you can just traverse the maps with it. That might be the best reason to have the damn thing. But I don't know. It might be kind of useless. There's like a, I don't remember if they called it what do they call it? It was kind of like a stun or something like that, where you're riding along, and if you take enough damage, you get knocked off of it, you flatten down on the ground, and then you're just vulnerable to take a beating for a while. So I don't know. It looked kind of cool. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Then they've added over 100 new support gems. So I don't know. I've not been happy with any of the support gems we've had. The builds that I've tried, I've reworked so many times because I get just a little bit further and then my build sucks again. And then I try it and tweak it around, get it to where it's sort of playable. And then it goes for a little bit and then it sucks again. Hopefully adding a big chunk of new support gems, and the support gems we have in the game currently, there's not really that much of them, and they don't really, I don't know, they don't feel all that good together. So maybe if we get another 100 of them, things will feel a lot better. Don't know. They've got a pile of new uniques. That one shield with the candles on it looked really cool. Just from a look perspective, it looked awesome. Like visually, it looked really cool. But they've got a bunch of uniques coming in. We've also got runes are going to have tiers, so you can get higher tiered versions of them instead of just the same crappy ones. And then along those same lines, they're going to have, they talked about a special map. I kind of tuned out a little bit on it, but there's a special map you can go to get specific, or to get certain runes that are locked behind this map, I think, or a better chance to get more runes. Maybe, I'm not sure. Like I said, I didn't really pay a whole ton of attention through this part, but they did have these wisps that you can chase down and you do combat with them. They had a really cool section about it that showed how these work, but these things can actually give you runes that are not unique, but they're not your standard runes. So they may give you a specific power and you go farm these things up, but they only come from these wisps. So you have to go fight them and chase them down and get that specific type of power or something like that. They look kind of cool. It basically is to bolster the crafting system up a little bit. They very explicitly clarified that these runes are the bench craft of old. So if you want to do anything if you expect to get a bench craft like we do in PoE 1, it's out, runes are in, that's all we're getting. And then they did a big section on the end game. We are getting 7 new maps, so if you're bored with the same rotation of maps, they're adding some new ones. They are relenting on the portals, and I like what they're doing. I still think it's a little bit punishing, but at least it's a move in the right direction. So in your general white maps, you're going to have 6 portals, and as you, what are they, waystones in this game? Not maps, they're waystones or whatever. As you go into magic and then rare, you're going to have less portals each time. So I think they said it was 6 portals on white maps. And then when you got it, I'm assuming blue maps, the magic ones are going to be 3 portals. And then they did mention that you get down to 1 portal on a rare map. I think that's kind of a cool way of doing it. I don't know. They want it to be more punishing as you go instead of just flat out punching you right in the balls right when you get into mapping. Now you got to wait a little bit before you get the torture, but at least it's put off a little bit. They did have something with Rogue Exiles. Now this would be awesome to come into PoE 1. So Rogue Exiles are going to come back into PoE 2. Or they're coming into PoE 2, but they're different than what they are in PoE 1. In PoE 2, they're going to have actual unique items that they use and fight with, not just like loot that drops on the ground. They're actually going to have items in their hands, and if you can kill them, you get the items. And it's like under their name, it would actually tell you what the items that they had were, so you could fight them, and if they get away or whatever, they just get away and you don't get your loot. But I thought that was really cool. So not only do you get a chance to fight, Rogue Exiles for whatever all the benefits that brings, but they also have specific, not necessarily specific uniques, but they'll have uniques on them. And it sounds like every Rogue Exile is going to have some kind of uniques on them, maybe 1 or 2 or something like that. And when you kill them, you drop those uniques, and that's what your reward is. So that sounded cool. They're adding some unique strong boxes. They showed a couple of samples of those. There was a concept of corrupted and cleansed maps. I think that had to do with towers. I'm probably wrong about that. This is part of the game I haven't gotten to yet, so I was like, whatever. I don't really, I'm in mapping with my current character, but I'm not far enough into it to have played it to have an opinion or to care about it. So I kind of zoned out a little bit in some of this too, but there was a concept of corrupted maps, which are in the game currently. And then once you clear that corruption out, there's a cleansed version, and they both have their own kind of rewards. I didn't quite catch what they were getting at with the corrupted one, because I must have skipped, I don't know, I must have blinked or something, but it sounded like you wanted to clean the corruption off the maps, and then you got cleansed maps that gave you a bunch of specific gear to go fight for or something like that. There was some specific rewards that you were going to get out of cleansed maps, and then they came back around and said, oh, by the way, you want to keep maps, you might want to keep maps corrupted, because then you can get other benefits from the corrupted side of things. So there's rewards on both sides, and whichever one you run is the rewards you're going to get. So that sounded pretty cool. They're actually putting some effort into the end game, as I kind of figured they would. We're getting fractured items back in the game, fractured items from PoE 1 are coming in. And they mentioned that towers are going to cover larger areas, and you can socket up to 3 waystones into them. They've also expanded the Atlas tree and added recombinators. And at the very end, they mentioned that you can still play on your current character, or you can completely start over if you want. This isn't like a forced wipe or anything. It's not an actual league. It's just a big patch with a bunch of balance stuff coming to it. But they did caution you, if you do stick with your current character, you're probably going to run into issues with having to the passive tree is probably going to change quite a bit. Maybe the gear is going to change significantly. So your build might get bricked. You might have, you might catch a big nerf or something like that. So play at your own risk. I'm probably going to start over. I might go in here tonight later on and clean out some of my old characters, just get some of my stuff out. I think I might stick with my Titan just to try it and see what it's like, just to instantly go in and try something and see if I'm actually going to enjoy any of the changes that are there at the end game level. Because we'll get into some of that here in a second. We'll come back to that. But on the Q&A section, they mentioned there's a ton of crashes in the game, and they've fixed a whole bunch of stuff, but there's these really nasty crashes that I've definitely been experiencing, and it's because I have an NVIDIA card. So whatever NVIDIA problem that is, if you install too new of a driver, which you're supposed to keep up with the drivers and all that good stuff, but I can't remember what build they said it was, but if you install anything past that build, basically you may have to revert to the older version. But they also said there was something with like a hard freeze. I don't think I ever had the hard freeze. I think I was just getting crashed to desktop, but they said the hard freeze, they were going to actually do something instead of freezing your computer. I think this was when they were talking about, they were actually just going to reset it and try to skip it. Or maybe it was the NVIDIA one. I don't remember. They talked about a few different major crashes and big bugs that they ran into specific to like NVIDIA cards. And they were going to implement some way to get around it. Like if crash, do this and not just die completely. So they're getting some kind of a workaround for that. Armor's still trash. They said they're basically going to have to, I don't know. That sounds like it's just never going to get fixed, at least within the next probably 6 months or year. I would expect that to last for a very long time. I would also expect nerfs on all the high performing builds. So all the stuff that's really good, expect big nerfs. And I think Energy Shield's also going to catch a nerf. I was going to come back and talk about something here on the character. Oh, they talked about in the campaign. I know in the Q&A section, they asked about like the gargantuan maps and all that stuff. And they basically indicated that the campaign is going to be as massive as it is, and they're not really going to do anything with it. So if you expect to get through this in a 10 or 20 hour time period, I mean, maybe there are people that are speed running it and getting through there and having a good time, but I'm expecting the campaign to be another 40 to 60 hour slog, and it doesn't sound like it's ever going to get any better. And it's just going to keep on the way it is. So as I said in yesterday's video, if you like the way the game plays today, you're going to have a good time on April 4th. If you think the game sucks and is miserable and don't really like playing it, you're probably going to find that that's the same experience on April 4th. There's just going to be more stuff to do. And, you know, maybe some of this stuff's fun. Maybe there'll be some things that help out and improve the experience. But my expectation and my plan is that I'm going to try it. What do we get it on Thursday or Friday? Whenever it comes out, I'm going to play it for a couple hours. If it's the same crappy experience that it is today, I'm out. I might even give it the weekend. I'm not sure, but I'm going to start planning on some other games or some other things to do and just let this one be for a while. Again, I plan on checking out every big patch they do to see if they ever make the game fun instead of the complete punishing misery that it is. But if it's going to be a 40 to 60 hour campaign, I'm definitely only going to play through the campaign one time with one character. And I'm not going to do like I did with this league on PoE1, where I tried all kind of different characters because the campaign's just too much to go through. And I don't want to get good at trying to whittle that thing down. But at any rate, that is what I saw and what I gave notes for. Hopefully it made somebody's day, because I don't know. I feel pretty good about my predictions from yesterday. I'm happier that I was basically right with my predictions, that nothing changes and it's all going to be the same. I know you're going to have somebody that comes in and says, well, wait for the patch notes. You wait for the patch notes and you tell me when they're almost the exact same thing that I rattled off here and said, hey, it's the same experience. It's just going to be the same experience for a long time. The writing's on the wall. They have no interest in changing it. It's just, if you like the way it is, that's the way it's going to be. If you don't like the way it is, probably give it a pass for a while and just go and do something else that's fun and enjoyable. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.